Hello and welcome to this webinar. It's a 1-hour webinar on how to turn a professional certificate into a new career. And my name is Laura. I'm one of the community managers in the Coursera community, which is at www.coursera.community. Without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our guest today, Vera Fishman. Vera is a Learner Services Program Manager at Coursera, where her goal is to provide every professional certificate learner and alum with tools for landing their dream job. She is a certified coach and has spent the past 5 years supporting people at all professional levels through career transitions. Take it away, Vera.
Thank you very much, Laura, for the introduction. It's wonderful to meet everyone. Thank you for being here. I know it's probably different times of day for everyone. I'm in California, in Northern California, so is Laura. So it's about 5:07 p.m. on a Wednesday right now, but I know it might be Thursday morning for some of you, it might be Wednesday evening for some of you as well. So great, thank you for being here. As Laura said, I'm a program manager at Coursera, and I work specifically on career support programs. So essentially, if you're considering a professional certificate, taking a professional certificate, or have completed a professional certificate, you hopefully know that professional certificates come with a set of job search support resources. And I manage those resources, so I make sure that all of the right resources and tools are available to professional certificate learners, so that once you complete your program, you're set up to find the job of your dreams. And I'm very excited to be here today. Let me just take a moment to share my screen because I do have a presentation. I do hope that this can be very interactive today. I much prefer talking to people as opposed to talking at people. So I will be stopping for questions. As Laura had mentioned, she's going to monitor what's going on in chat and highlight the most relevant questions to me. We are probably not going to be able to answer all of the questions today just because we have a lot of people participating. All right, so we are here today to talk about professional certificates and how to turn professional certificates into a new career. So we'll talk about what professional certificates are, but the assumption right now that I have is that most of you are considering or taking these professional certificates with the goal of starting a new career. So maybe you've had a career and you're making a change. Maybe you're starting something completely from scratch. Maybe you're venturing into a field you don't have any professional background in. Maybe you're making a slight change. Maybe you're in school and you're about to start a career. So regardless of sort of where you are at in your career path, and you know what, even if you're not looking for a job anytime soon, still hopefully going to be useful for you because we are going to talk about how to make the most out of your communication in the job search process. So as Laura mentioned, as you know by now, my name is Vera Fishman. I'm Learner Services Program Manager at Coursera. I support job search programs. I come from career coaching background myself, so I have worked with thousands of people one-on-one and in group settings from all kinds of backgrounds. I have supported job search guarantee learners at Udacity, for example. Worked with a lot of people who are looking to start brand new careers. I've worked with people in the outplacement industry and people who are in active career transition, people of all levels, early career professionals, experienced senior level professionals, as well as executives. So I have a really good understanding and framework for what it takes to find a job, what are the challenges along the way, and what are the challenges and needs specifically of learners who are starting new careers or changing careers. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, my email is on this slide right here. Feel free to drop me a note. Great, so let's start talking about professional certificates. And I want to make sure that we start with setting a foundation of what a professional certificate actually is. So a professional certificate is a specific type of program on Coursera. And what sets professional certificates apart from other programs is they're designed to be completely job ready. So you might know, for example, that Coursera has MOOCs that are standalone courses. Coursera also has specializations, which are bundled courses focusing on a particular area. What differentiates professional certificates is that professional certificate covers a full comprehensive set of skills you need to prepare for a particular role and do that within a year. And many professional certificates also prepare you for an industry recognized certification. So if you go into professional certificates on Coursera, you can see what those certifications are corresponding to each professional certificate. But today I'm going to focus on, rather than on certifications, I'm going to focus on finding a job after completing a professional certificate. And because professional certificates are job ready, and because my role at Coursera is managing job search support programs, I cannot move forward without mentioning the types of resources, career support resources that are included with professional certificates. So if you complete a professional certificate, you will have access to all of the job search support resources. And this is just a few highlights of the resources that you will have access to or already have access to if you have completed a professional certificate. So we have things such as a step-by-step job search guide that you can use to create your own job search plan. We provide you with access to a fantastic resource called Big Interview. It's a platform that has amazing content on the job search process, videos on every step of the job search to really prepare you for that process. Everything from resume to interview prep to negotiation to even starting your career. And it's also an interactive platform. You have a resume builder there. You have interview practice tools. It's fabulous. If you were to create your own account on biginterview.com, you have to pay $79 a month. But if you complete a professional certificate, you get 1 year of access for free to this platform. I also think that the network of professional certificate alumni is a fantastic tool. You may be sitting at your computer going through the professional certificate, but you're not alone. There are thousands, tens of thousands of people across the world who are doing the same, and they're in the same shoes as you are. They often have similar or different backgrounds. They might have similar professional goals. So Laura manages our community platform, and this is a really great way to connect with people. And as an alumni of professional certificate community, we give you access to a private community where you can talk to only to people who have completed professional certificates. And then we also, always work on new offers in terms of career support, reevaluating and growing what we offer as resources. So we do things such as career coaching, we do webinars that are only available to completers of professional certificates, and many more things that change all the time. But I wanted to make sure that you're familiar with these resources because this is a huge part of your job search process, right? You will get your professional certificate, you will have all of the skills for your new job, and we want to make sure that you're also have the skills for the job search itself. So let's get started. And I'm very, very excited to talk about professional certificates today because professional certificates are a wonderful, wonderful tool for starting a new career. So for those of you, I know there's often a question among people who are considering the professional certificate, is a professional certificate sufficient to start a new career? The answer is professional certificates are designed to provide you, as I said, with a comprehensive set of skills designed specifically around a particular career. So we do industry analysis. We talk to industry professionals to make sure that the professional certificate covers all the skills that you need to do a certain job. But what's important, right, is that is not the fact that you complete a professional certificate on Coursera and you have this badge that says you completed professional certificate on Coursera, although that's important. But what's important is that after completing a professional certificate, you come out with a set of very valuable skills. And so I would like to invite you today to start thinking of professional certificates, not as certificates, but as a set of skills that you're earning that are very valued by employers. Let's talk about that a little bit more. I really like this quote. It says, schooling doesn't assure employment, but skill does. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, right? If you went to Harvard, for example, then it's a university that is very well recognized, and you might be able to get a job just based on the fact that you went to Harvard, but most of us didn't. And because of that, but it doesn't mean that we don't have the skills. We might still have the skills. It's just that the employer might or might not be aware of the skills that we have developed in the process of our education. And so it's really, really important to talk about the skills when it comes to describing your experience with a professional certificate. I'd like you to take a moment to go through a little mental exercise. So imagine you're a recruiter or a hiring manager, and you are looking at a pile of resumes. You're recruiting for a role, and you have 100 resumes in front of you. These days, recruiters don't really print out resumes, but let's imagine this recruiter is old school and printed out all of the resumes that have been submitted for a role. And let's imagine it's just 100 of them. At that point of time, many recruiters will tell you that they will spend only about 6 seconds looking at every resume. And in that 6 seconds, they're going to make a decision whether they want to further talk to this person and learn about this person or not. And so when they look at this file, it's just a pile of resumes of strangers, right? They don't know when your resume comes up in that pile, they don't know that, they probably don't know anything about you, right? Unless your resume was hand delivered to them by a coworker or something. So they probably don't know anything about you. They probably don't know much about the place you worked at or anything at all, right? If it's a large company, if you've worked at Google, they might have some brand recognition there. But even if you worked at a large company, they don't know a lot about the role that you've done because job titles vary, roles vary, and so they don't know much about it. And then finally, they probably don't know much about the education you have completed. Again, if you went to Harvard, they probably know something about it. If, for example, you completed a bachelor degree, it's a pretty standard set of knowledge that you receive from a bachelor degree. But again, they wouldn't know the details. So it's really, really important to get into the mindset that all this person knows is what's on the resume. And the only thing that this person cares about is what you can do for them. Might be a little bit of a controversial thing to say, but it's actually true. It doesn't matter to them what you've done. It doesn't matter to them where you've worked. It doesn't matter to them where you went to school. It only matters to them what you can do for them. But they do care about where you worked and what you studied, because what you've done in the past is the best proxy to what you can do in the future. And because of that, it's really important to make it easy for these recruiters and hiring managers to understand what you can do for them, as I said. And so in terms of what you can do for them, I think of two groups that are important. One is skills, right? And skills describes what you can do. The other group is accomplishments. And accomplishments is your track record of success. And we're going to talk about both of those things next. All right, so what are the skills? And I pulled out a definition from Wikipedia because I like starting with definitions. And skills is the ability to carry out a task with determined results, often within a given amount of time, energy, or both. So skills are specific is an ability to do a specific thing. That's really relevant at work, right? You're usually hired to do something specific or a set of specific requirements. And when it comes to skills, there are two types of skills. There are what's called hard technical skills, and then there are soft skills. Both of those skills are really important, and the value of each group sort of changes with roles. So if you're in a highly technical role, say if you're an iOS developer, right? Or if you're a data scientist, for example, your technical skills are going to be very important. And those include, right, programming languages, any sort of hardware, software knowledge that you have, as well as data analytics, project management, those kinds of things that you can apply to specific tasks. And you want to make sure that when you think about how to turn your professional certificate into a career, you think about the skills that you gain through that professional certificate, right? It's not just that you completed IBM data science professional certificate. It's also that you learned Python, for example. It's not just the Google IT support professional certificate that you completed, right? But it's that you've learned about operating systems and networking and security. Those are really important things, and you need to be able to describe them. Then the next set of skills to think about, as I said, is soft skills. And soft skills is something we all have. And in professional certificates, again, the programs are designed in a way where you gain the necessary soft skills for your chosen area as well. So for example, with Google IT support certificate, there are modules there on how to manage difficult customers, right? Or how to do troubleshooting. And so soft skills are your people skills, communication skills, leadership skills, time management, those kinds of things. Again, you need to be able to talk to the soft skills that you have gained through your professional certificate. And it's really important that when you talk about your soft skills specifically, you're very specific. And the reason I say that is because I have seen a lot of resumes, for example, in my life that say somebody has great communication skills and leadership skills and cross-functional team management skills. Well, you know what? That can describe any of us. I've never seen a person who's going to say that they have poor communication skills. Yet we know that some people have better communication skills than others. So when you're talking about soft skills and thinking about soft skills, this is your opportunity to reflect on who you are as a human being and as a professional, and what really makes you stand out from the crowd. And if you say that you have communication skills, then how can you prove that your communication skills are better than average? And this is where we come to accomplishments. Accomplishments are the things that you have achieved and that show that you have what you are capable of doing. And going back to the professional certificates, think about professional certificates and think about accomplishments in the context of that professional certificate. I know, and you know, if you're a professional certificate learner or completer, that it takes time and effort and commitment to complete a professional certificate. It takes organization skills, it takes time management skills. It's not easy, right? You need to keep yourself motivated. You need to make sure you go back and you figure things out. Sometimes you don't have the support system who can help you figure things out if you get stuck. So it's difficult to do. But an employer looking at a resume and seeing that professional certificate on your resume might not know about that. So think about, when you think about professional certificates, think about what you did in this professional certificate that makes you proud, right? Maybe you're proud you completed it in 2 months instead of 4 months that was recommended for that professional certificate. Think about what was difficult. Maybe it can be something like, you know, you had to juggle a job and children and find a time to study at night. And it just took a lot of discipline to get there. And think about what you did that not everyone else could. I know if we're talking about completing a certificate, it can be difficult to realize that. But think about, maybe in our community, have you ever come across people who never complete their professional certificate? What shows that you are amazing at what you do? That's how I think about accomplishments. Next, I'm going to talk about very tangible ways to build your professional certificate into a resume and LinkedIn. Great. So one thing that is always interesting to me is when I see people who complete a professional certificate and I see their resume and LinkedIn profile, there's usually just one place where I see them mentioning the professional certificate, and that place is usually the education section. And today, I'm going to go back to the concept of skills and what the professional certificate means to you as a professional, how it contributes to who you are as a professional, and how you can really make that shine and make it stand out very clearly on your resume and LinkedIn profile. So these are all of the sections that we're going to talk about in a minute. So first, I'm just going to cover the education section because I know this is the first place that people think about. So when it comes to the top box is an example from a resume. The bottom box is an example from LinkedIn profile. When it comes to your resume, you can list your professional certificate under the education section, or you can have a separate section for certificates. Honestly, I prefer to put it straight into the education section, mainly because why add another section, right? The reality is professional certificate is a type of education you receive. So put it under your education. And then when it comes to LinkedIn, everybody knows there is a LinkedIn section as well, so make sure to add it there as well. Now, there is more. We just talked about skills, right? And the importance of adding skills and thinking about the skills you earn as a part of your professional certificate. So skills section, we'll talk about skills on LinkedIn, but let's start with skills on resume. I hope all of you know that there is a skills section that everybody should have on their resume. So if you look at a resume, you should have a summary, and then you should have a skills section. If you're looking for a role that is highly technical, it's a great idea to have a technical skills section. As you can see in the box, in the top box, it has technical skills, and then it has examples such as Linux, Windows, troubleshooting, networking, etc. You can also have a separate section for more of your business skills, which, for example, for an IT support role can be customer support and project management. If your role is not necessarily, the role you're looking for is not necessarily as technical, meaning there is fewer technologies that you work with, but you have very tangible skills in terms of different processes, then you can use just a bulleted list. And so the bottom, the box on the bottom is a way to list your skills in a bulleted format. And the reason the skills section on your resume is so important is because let's think back to that recruiter. Remember, they spent about 6 seconds looking at your resume. It's not a long time ago. Try timing yourself for 6 seconds. And what that means is that short sentences, single words, in a clearly formatted way are really jump out and really easy to see. And this way, if you have that skills section, then the recruiter is going to be sure to be able to grasp the majority of relevant information in that short time they're likely to spend on your resume. Now, LinkedIn also has a skills section, and that's a very different section. So LinkedIn has a section which is towards the end of your page, and you can enter your skills there one by one. And then people from your network are going to endorse you for those skills. So when somebody who's your connection goes on LinkedIn, you might have had this experience. What happens is there is a question that pops up, is such and such person good at XYZ? right? So somebody who's your connection they might have a question, would you recommend such and such for troubleshooting? And then if they hit yes, then you're going to have one endorsement next to that skill. Now, there's only, as you can see, there's only top 3 skills that show up in the list. And top 3 either means that you have the most endorsements for them, or it means that you just chose to put them at the top because you can actually reorder them any way you like. But the reason these skills are important is because when recruiters search for people on LinkedIn, they often search for keywords, right? How else are they going to do it? And so the skills section, LinkedIn changes their algorithms, but the skills section is important for those searches. And so it's important that you have the right skills in there to make sure recruiters can find you. Right. One more section on the resume where you can add your professional certificate, and that's your summary section at the very top. And the reason I say that adding your professional certificate to the summary at the top is optional is because your summary contains the most important information about you. And so if your professional certificate, if you're changing careers and you're venturing into a field that you've never done anything in before, professional certificate is a core element of your value proposition. And if that's the case, then you should include it in the summary section, right? The way it says here, it says recently completed Google IT support certificate. However, if you say you have been in data analytics for the past 5 years in your career, and you're transitioning into data science, and you completed IBM Data Science Professional Certificate, but you completed that with a specific goal of like, I don't know, again, maybe like learning Python for data science. But the majority of your skills are not actually coming from that professional certificate. In that case, maybe you don't need to highlight it, right? Highlight the things that you've done in your professional experience. Now, LinkedIn summary is a totally different story. And the reason LinkedIn summary is a totally different story is LinkedIn summary doesn't have such a rigid format, can be actually longer than a summary on your resume. And so you can, what you can actually do in the LinkedIn summary, you can add your skills into that summary itself. Now you would say, why do I need to add skills into the summary section if I already have it in the skills section? Well, if you know how search engines work in repetition. So if you have important skills that you want to highlight, listing them in multiple places in your profile is a really good idea. And so this is an example of LinkedIn summary. Your LinkedIn summary does not have to follow this format, but this is something that you can do. All right. And then finally, LinkedIn also has a headline. A lot of people, for some reason, don't know this, but your headline is what shows up at the top of your profile. There is a default headline, and the default headline is your current or most recent role at company, but you have full control over that. And again, this is a really important section because this is the first thing that people see about you, and this is sometimes the only thing that people see. And so you need to make sure that you go through that headline, and if your professional certificate is a core of your value proposition, then list it in your headline as well.
A few people have asked where the job support services are provided.
So that's a really great question. The job search support services are available to everybody across the world. All professional certificate completers. However, one thing to keep in mind is that the job search services are mostly focused on the best practices in North America, United States, and Canada. And the reason we do it that way is because we find that this is the most common format for resume and interviewing, and that's really what most people want to see. However, if you're looking for specific advice that is specific to your geo, what I would also recommend is once you're connected with the completer community and people from other completers of professional certificates, find other fellow alumni from your area, and then you can help each other. So there is a question: can a professional certificate act as a standalone career attraction? Again, professional certificates are designed to supply you with a full set of skills required to perform a certain role. But I want to be careful with the word attraction, right? Because you want to make sure that, again, you communicate your value. Because even if you don't have professional experience, right? If you're a clean slate when it comes to professional experience, you're not just your professional certificate. We're just about to talk about that. You are going to have personality traits. You're going to have maybe the academic, maybe professional experiences, and that's going to enrich your story. So as I said, to summarize, professional certificate is designed to provide you everything you need. And I strongly recommend that you think of it in the context of your career. In terms of the work experience, there's a question, what about work experience? And I think what that question means is that, how do you add professional certificate into your work experience? And unless you complete a lot of projects as a part of your professional certificate, I don't recommend adding professional certificate as a part of your work experience, because to be frank, it's not, it's more of education. All right, and then there's a question, what about if your previous career or job are not matching with your IT path? Do you still put it on your resume? That's an excellent question, and it leads into our next section. So let me go through my next section in our presentation, and then if there are any further follow-up questions, please do ask them. All right, so your career story. You are not, as I mentioned, you're not your professional certificate. You're so much more than that, right? Even if we take every person who doesn't have any professional or academic experience outside of professional certificates, you're all going to be very different. So think about it that way. Your new career, the career you're venturing into, consists of 3 parts. There is your past experience and skills. You only need to highlight the things that are relevant, right? But think about the fact that there is a lot of transferable skills. So for example, if you're starting an IT career, an IT support career, and you have retail experience, there is actually things that are highly relevant from your retail experience, right? So you have probably great customer service skills. You're probably used to working with difficult customers and things like that. So yes, of course, still list your retail experience and highlight the things that are most relevant to your new career. Maybe you had a chance to be the IT person in the store you worked at. And so that's part of your career. Second part is your new skills. We've already talked about it, whatever you earn via the professional certificate. And then the last part is your professional aspirations. One thing to keep in mind is that whenever you're changing careers, or especially changing careers, but also starting a new career, anybody looking at your resume is going to wonder what's making you, bringing you to that change. Because if you think about it, nobody wants to hire a person who is just desperate to do anything, right? Nobody wants to hire a person who is applying for a role that's not aligned with their career goals just because they want to make the paycheck. Everybody wants to hire a person who is super committed and excited about what they're going to do. So what is important is, where do you see your career going? And that is going to be a part of what's going to create your new career. And I think of it a little bit in terms of a timeline. So I think about it that way. First of all, your new career starts with a new job. So your immediate goal is to get your first job in the field. And then let's start thinking about that timeline. So there is your past, and your past is the background, which is the things you've done, the things you've studied, the things that you've accomplished, especially what's relevant to your professional, to your new career. Also think about what in your past connects you to your new career. So for example, right, you, going back to the example of somebody working in retail and transitioning into IT support career, that person might have been in retail, but they've been passionate about IT related topics. So maybe, as I said, maybe they did IT in the store that they've done. Maybe they did volunteering. Maybe they taught high schoolers how to use computers or seniors how to use computers. Think about what is the theme of your life that connects you to your new career, because most of the time when people transition their careers, it's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that, you see an ad on TV and you're like, huh, you know what? This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Most of the time there is a reason that bubbles up. Now, that's your past. Then now you have your present, and your present is your professional certificate, maybe additional relevant work that you do in that field. And so that constitutes who you are as a professional today. And then finally, there is a third dot on the very right of the screen, which is your future. Remember, I said that it's important to have that vision where you want your career to go, because your next job is going to be the first step in that direction. And when you think about your career, I know it's hard to think of what do you want to do 5 years from now. It's hard to think what you're going to do 2 years from now sometimes, especially if you're starting from scratch. But think about your next job. So think about the job you want, and what is the next job? What is it going to be a stepping stone towards? And so what's interesting is if you have 3 points, right? You have past, present, and future. You can draw a line through those points the way I have on the slide and tell a story using those 3 points. And if you have a line that goes through 3 points, you can make sure that the next job that you're applying for is going to fit straight on that line, and it's going to be very clear and very obvious to the person you're talking to why this is the right job for you, which also often means that you're the right person for that job. Yeah. Can these professional certificates be effective for older students nearing retirement age that want to continue working after retirement age? Yes, absolutely. Again, one thing to keep in mind is there is a difference between having the skills to do the job and landing the job. And if you're thinking, and think about the specific career that you want to achieve after retirement, right? If you're, I've recently talked to somebody who's moving into IT support in retirement, and that can be a great path, right? You will need to make a strong case for telling that career story and explaining how you arrived there, and that you are committed and that you are passionate. But yes, you will have the right set of skills to do the job. And there's another question, what if you are starting from scratch and have no prior experience? So a lot of people I know who take professional certificates who have no prior experience, I'm assuming no professional experience, are people who are in college currently. And then the way to think about it is think about, again, the same way, sort of what are the skills that you have from your education? And even if you don't have a college degree, right? You might have a high school degree, you might have an associate degree. Maybe you're saying no education and you actually have some retail or hospitality experience. So think about what are their skills that you have and how can you tell a comprehensive story? And again, professional certificates are designed to provide you with all the skills you need for a certain job. Great, so let's talk, there's just one more section left, I promise. So we talked about professional certificates. We talked about skills. We talked about putting them on your resume. We talked about thinking about your career story. There is one more important area that I want to cover, and that has to do with talking to professionals in the field. Now, I know everybody says networking, 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 and that can get annoying. The reality is, especially for a career transition, it's super important, and I will explain you why. So if you complete a professional certificate, as I said many times, you have the skills to do the job, but you don't have on-the-job experience, which means that you might not know what the day-to-day in your target role might look like, right? You don't know, if you've never been in an IT support role, going back to IT support, you might not know what it is you might know how to troubleshoot a certain issue, but not what it's like to show up at work and what are you going to do in, at 8 a.m.? What are you going to do at 12 p.m.? How's your Monday going to be different from your Thursday? Those are all of the things that you're not going to know. And that's going to make it harder to find a job. Because through the job search process, fundamentally, you're selling your skills and you're selling your ability to do something. And if you don't know exactly what it is that you're going to have to do, it's going to make that sale difficult, right? So you need to make sure that even though you've never been in a certain role, you have a great idea of what it means to be in that role. It's like you've already worked in that role. And so in order to do that, the best way to do that is to talk to people. And this is where the concept of informational interviews becomes so important. So if you've never heard the term informational interviews, don't worry about it. It's a kind of a career industry term that is very common, but a lot of people are not familiar with it. So an informational interview is essentially a conversation with a professional who works in a certain role with the goal of learning about their role, their company, etc. There is no goal of getting a job there or getting a referral there, but there is a goal of learning everything that they know. And that's a really important thing to do. There's multiple ways you can find people for informational interviews. One easy, simple way, find professional or networking organizations in your area. For example, there might be a Facebook group in your area that helps people with job search. Post there and say, hey, does anyone work in field XYZ? I'd really appreciate to talk to you. Go through your existing connections. Make sure that everyone you know is in your LinkedIn profile, and that way you can know that what everybody does. And then find people who are relevant. Ask people to introduce you to second-degree connections. And then you can just do cold reaching out on LinkedIn. I have a screenshot here of how to do a people search. So as you can see, I put in data analyst. I did a people search in San Francisco Bay Area, and there's 170,000 people who come up to that search. So there's 170,000 people in Bay Area alone who can tell me something about data analytics. That's a lot of people to reach out to that can be helpful in my job search. And if you need some ideas, you can send them a connection request and include a message like this one. When you send a connection request, there is a little button there that says add a note. Make sure to add a note and say something like, hi, I'm such and such. I'm reaching out because I want to become a data analyst and I really want to learn about your role and what you do at Amazon. I'd be grateful for a chance to ask you a few questions to learn from your experience. And then if the person accepts connection request, follow up, say thank you, and ask them your question. And keep in mind that sometimes people will respond, sometimes people will not respond. Do not take it personally. Use this message to adjust this message as necessary to feel true to you. Be specific. Make it very clear what you want. Make it clear that it's not a sales call, that you're not going to ask for a job or anything of that sort. In general, my favorite quote about job search is, if you ask for a job, you're going to get advice. If you ask for advice, you might get a job. And so I would recommend that if you're changing into a new career, whether through a professional certificate or not, set a goal for yourself to speak with 10 people who do work in the role that you are pursuing. If you speak with 10 people, then you are going to know so much more. And trust me, 10 people who are in the roles that are 10 people who are in the roles that are your target roles are going to put you light years ahead of everybody else trying to shift into those roles. One final note, another reason for informational interview is informational interviews will help you grow your referral network. Now, I very clearly said when you do an informational interview, make sure you're clear that you're not asking for a job and you're asking for advice. However, that person is going to be connection from now on. And you know what? If you have a good bond, they just might be very helpful in the field. I once had a client who connected with somebody on LinkedIn in the area. He was in a very kind of niche role, and the person led him to lunch, and they connected really well, and the person he reached out to cold on LinkedIn became his biggest advocate and introduced him to a whole bunch of people in the industry. It absolutely does happen, not every day, but it's really important. And the reason referrals are so important is because a lot of jobs are filled through networking. A lot of jobs are available, but are actually not posted online. And also because there is a lot of people applying to jobs online. It's hard to stand out from a pile of resume. And having a referral is a really powerful way to do that. But that's a whole separate conversation, so I'm not going to go into that today, maybe another webinar. So to summarize, when you think about professional certificates and how you're going to start your new career, focus on skills and accomplishments from your professional certificates, as well as skills and accomplishments from your previous experience. Make it clear how that professional certificate fits into your career story and how your career is going to look like moving forward. And then finally, talk to people, talk to people, talk to people. That's going to be your best support system for finding your next job. And that's the end of the presentation. I have a couple of minutes, and let me do that. There are some questions about, there's a lot of questions that have to do with using a professional certificate and starting a new career. Sort of what happens if you're just brand out of school, if you don't have any experience, if you're of certain age. And those are very specific questions that I'm not going to address right now for a particular reason, is that that's very specific to the role, to your area, and I can't answer it in a broad sense. Again, as I said, professional certificates are designed to provide you with all of the skills you need, but the best way for you to find out what it takes is talk to people. One great way to do that is find people who have completed the same professional certificate, who are maybe in the same area as you are, or have similar background. Go on LinkedIn and do a search for that. Find those people, go to the professional certificate community and post there and see if there are people with similar background and ask them. If you have specific questions that you'd like me to address, you can find me in the professional certificates community. You can see there is a few posts that I've posted there. And so feel free to just send me a direct message in the professional certificate community. I'll be happy to address specific questions. Again, might not be able to help you with specific role in specific area, but feel free to reach out.